Hey, what's up everyone? Dragon back again for yet another edition of the Kaiju Commentary. Today we are watching the Godzilla film that took Japan by storm, the bold and imaginative reimagining of Godzilla himself, Shin Godzilla, Godzilla Resurgence. Now, when you see the Toho logo appear on your screen, that is your cue to start listening to us. So we're going to kick things off in 3, 2, 1.
Hello!
Hi!
Welcome to another edition of the Kaiju Commentary. Today we are watching Shin Godzilla, a.k.a. Godzilla Resurgence.
Resurge.
Oh my gosh, I love a good resurgence.
And even though he did resurge in this movie, because of this continuity, this is the first time. So this alternate title was very misleading. I don't know if they... And even then, the resurgence of the Godzilla franchise, which already happened in 2014. So the name was just bad, people.
Yeah, it's not a good name.
So Shin Godzilla, I feel, is the appropriate name. Because there is no resurgence to be had in this film.
Man, I remember the long conversations we had about this title.
About resurgence.
Yeah.
Like the nature of what it means to resurge.
Yeah.
And just that long diatribe that we
They could have called it Godzilla Surgence.
Yeah.
That would have worked.
Godzilla surges, because which he does in this
Yeah.
film. He does in fact surge at some point.
Godzilla Extreme Surging.
Why does the Japan Coast Guard font look like the Costco font? Do you see that?
Wait, what?
On the vest, it says Japan Coast Guard, but it looks like
I'm gonna
the
have
Costco
to
font.
get a second look.
I wonder if they're gonna show it. Come on, guys.
Wow, the shoes are left very neatly.
So yeah, it's interesting that this film starts off with like a suicide of quite possibly the most important character in the movie, even though you never actually see him in the movie. But he's kind of, in a weird way, the reason why we know anything about what's going on.
Gross.
I know.
Now we'll never know if it was the same font.
So this film was like
bummer.
crazy big in Japan. Like it was one of the highest grossing films in Japanese history. I think it was definitely the highest grossing film of 2016. It was nominated for like a bunch of Japanese Academy Awards and won every single one, including Best Picture. And a lot of this is mainly for the reason why I think a lot of Western people had some issues with it. Not a lot, but a lot of people didn't really get the point of this movie. And this was a film that was very much marketed for the Japanese audience, and it's very much a commentary on their politics and the frustration of their politics and how things move over there. So it was very much kind of meant for, someone who is living on the ground in Japan. Because there's a lot of things that are meant to be funny that I know that it went over a lot of Western people. Mine too. I'm not even sure. And it was people who are from over there who told me after the fact, and I was like, oh, I didn't know that. And we actually all got to see this in theaters.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep, they did a limited release here in America.
This is the second Godzilla film I ever saw.
That's right, because 2014 was your first, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's interesting. You got to see two very different,
New ones.
takes on Godzilla. Yeah, this is all about kind of the bureaucracy and just how long it takes for the government to get something done, basically, in the face of a tragedy. And I'm not just shitting on the Japanese government. That's real. That's a lot of governments. But this is kind of showing the frustration, I guess, that a lot of people in Japan had with the Fukushima event and how long it took for certain kind of government institutions to do things, they felt like, if you weren't so bogged down in bureaucracy that things could have moved a lot faster. And essentially Godzilla, at his best, has always been kind of a metaphor for a disaster. And in this film, he's kind of more or less a metaphor for not necessarily just a specific natural disaster, but how slow we are to react to a disaster, I guess. So he's more about the reaction in this film. So yeah,
Yeah. It was a good summing up of
I
the perspective.
worked on a little bit beforehand. I'm gonna lie. Worked on some of the nuances.
Well, you can set the sheet you're reading from now.
Yeah, thank you. The funny thing is, there are gonna be a lot of people who probably think I am reading for a sheet. Like, no, I literally just fill my head with that much stuff. Just flipping the pages back.
Even that.
Keep reading.
We're still
We're still going off script.
This
here.
is all in the script.
Yep. Even you saying that part, it's like people. That's all we do is read from scripts.
Yeah. I mean, if I was to write a script, that'd be in the script.
So the woman right here in the foreground, I'm fairly certain this was the kind
The
of
only
weird
woman?
psychic woman from the third Gamma movie.
Really?
Remember the one that was you felt always looked really, really horny?
Yeah, you think it? She still kind of does. That girl?
Yeah, I believe that's the same actress. Playing a very different character in this film.
Figure that out.
Everyone's going on their phones
It's
like...
time.
They're making a sequel to this?
No,
No.
they, in Toho in 2021 is going to be starting their own cinematic universe where they're going to start fresh, which...
Really?
Yeah, I'm okay with this because as much as I enjoyed this film, I think this film is kind of a one-and-done story. It's about...
I don't know, they kind of leave it open.
They leave it open, but the way they leave it open, I don't think Godzilla himself would be too different. And I know I don't think Anno wants to come back and do another one.
Is that the director?
Yeah. Anno Higuchi did Evangelion, which is he's really known. And a lot of the music in this movie is from Evangelion.
Do you know her character's name?
I can...
I think I found her.
Was it Kimiko Yo?
That's what I was looking at. I think.
Isn't it each dying to be her? And just look at her. If you see Gamera...
Yeah, that's what I'm doing.
Then it'd be her. But yeah, I love how they're also showing too, like a bit of a generation gap. Because in Japan, well, obviously they respect their elders a lot, and a lot of people don't really retire as early as they would in the West, where people will literally almost stay in their jobs until they die. So right here, they're struggling to figure out what's going on, whereas the younger guy was already saying, well, there's photos of it like on social media, and they were kind of like, well, what do you mean? And they're showing like they wouldn't have even thought to look at social media because they've been doing this so long. When they got started, that wasn't even a thing. So they're trying to figure out what's going on. Meanwhile, they essentially have on-the-ground reporting from the average citizen with a cell phone.
And then you check Twitter, oh man.
And that's kind of the big kind of battle really in this movie, is that you're seeing the younger politicians trying to maneuver out of the shadow of the older ones because they're kind of more in tune with what's going on and how things work and how people are reacting and feeling, and you can see there's like that disconnect. But over there, you know, the younger people are very much have to be subservient to the older generation.
Rip.
I don't think it's her. I don't see Gamera on here.
I mean, maybe not then. I thought it was her.
Well, we might be looking at the wrong person too.
Regardless, she does a very good job in this film.
She looks just as horny as that King.
Also, this is the first...
Yeah, she's in a lot of stuff though.
Oh yeah, this film had like a star-studded Japanese cast. Like if you're familiar with like, Japanese cinema, you're going to recognize a lot of faces in this movie. I recognize a few of them, but I talked to some of a couple people we know from Japan, and well, our first look of kind of Godzilla.
Oh wow.
Also, this is the first film where Godzilla has multiple forms.
Which was pretty cool.
Yeah, it was something very...
I remember watching this. I didn't know that was a thing in this movie. I don't know if you did going in, that he was going to exhibit different forms.
I knew he
but
had
I remember like
some.
seeing the first creature that we see and not knowing that was going to end up being Godzilla.
Yeah, they did... I know for a lot of people when they were seeing some of the promotional stuff of the different forms of Godzilla, some people weren't sure if that was Godzilla or some kind of other creature that appears in the movie with him. So when they went and saw the movie and really saw that, oh no, that is Godzilla, some people were like, wait, what? So this film does break a lot of ground, and Anno, in classic fashion, really pushes the envelope. And I know there were certain things that even Toho said no to. At one point, he wanted Godzilla to sprout wings and fly, and Toho was kind of like, slow down there, sport.
Godzilla will never fly again.
You never fly again. That was actually a thing. The guy who made him fly in Hedorah, they never let him direct another Godzilla movie again.
No, I remember you telling me that when it happened. I was like, are you kidding me?
Yeah.
I'd have this guy direct every single one.
I know, right? Even I know at one point, like, Godzilla's blood was even supposed to mutate. Like, there was a shot that they deleted from the film where you see his blood on the ground, and it's got an eyeball growing out of it. Like, really, he was pushing.
That's nutty. It is like one of the probably the most unique Godzilla we've ever we've ever seen. Like, because like the Netflix movies.
The animated.
I haven't
one.
watched the second one yet.
It's good. I enjoyed that one.
It's gotten pretty subpar reviews. I don't know if you.
I mean, I enjoyed it more than the first one.
Yeah, me too.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
City on the Edge of Battle.
Well, the one review I read, the main complaint is that they said that they didn't do enough to. I'll try not to say on this regular because we're not watching that movie, but I guess explain the character's motivations, which all that was done in the first movie.
Yeah.
Which it's like, if
It should
you've
be
seen the
good.
first movie, that doesn't really matter.
Yeah. No, I
But-
think this one does a good job of kind of condensing it. But yeah, no, this one definitely. But it seems like the irony is now between the animated films and this film, the most quote unquote traditional Godzilla is the legendary one.
Oh
where
yeah.
He looks and feels more like a lot.
Well, I
Of,
was gonna say like the animated film. Well, the Godzilla that we see in the first one is pretty traditional. Like, I mean, he's huge.
yeah,
But in terms of look,
Yeah.
yeah,
like aesthetic, it's kind of what you would expect. Where this one, even when he's in his more like Godzilla kind of shape, doesn't resemble Godzilla in the
Yeah.
in the way that you would expect to see him.
exactly.
But like, I mean, it's not so far. I think it's a good, perfect balance because it's not so far that you aren't okay with calling it Godzilla.
yeah, you recognize the character, but you see that it's a very bold.
Oh yeah, because I mean, this Godzilla
Take.
scene is dark. I think it's fair to say just like evil, like
Yeah,
just like it's.
well, it's very much kind of in the spirit of the original, but just kind of taken to the next. It's kind of a very modern take. Like if 54 was made in 2016, this is essentially exactly what you were going to get. Really pushing the mutation aspect of it, the radiation, and just doing something different.
Here we go.
And the first time Japan has done an all CG Godzilla too, because I remember that was some of the big complaints people had with 2014. It's like it's not Godzilla unless you have a guy in a suit, and everyone thought that the final form of Godzilla in this movie was a guy in a suit. Come to find out, nope, that's all digital.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of like, even Toho was like, it's
Eat
just
your words.
well, yeah, but that's just the way
Well,
movies are made now. Like,
Well, and the thing is like digital is good enough now.
Yeah.
yeah, I
Like,
agree.
It wasn't then. you
Especially
know?
outside of America. Like,
Yeah.
and even some American films, you can still tell it was digital. Like, yeah, if this was like 20 years ago, I would not want Japan making a
No.
CGI Godzilla. I always said, like,
Hell,
CGI is
I don't
great.
want America making a 120 years ago.
Well, yeah. Well, CGI needs
Oh,
to be
yeah.
perfect. You can't, at least with a practical effect, you have the benefit of being
The
real.
thing is, especially like the legendary films, the budget behind them.
Oh, yeah.
Like these things are gonna look good. I don't know. I don't see that as.
And I think a big part of the reason why this film had the budget that it did was because Toho was executive producing that film, so they got some kickback from the legendary film. So a good chunk of change from that movie went into the production budget of this movie, which allowed
Right.
them to really push the effects budget and really bring a Japanese iteration of the character into the modern age. Because prior to 2014, Godzilla, they said, ironically, was probably more popular in the West than he was Japan, because a lot of younger people in Japan kind of thought Godzilla was
Look, that guy.
this retro kind of passe thing. And then 2014 came out, and Godzilla was cool and hip and CGI, and they were like, oh, okay, so we can bring him into a more modern movie landscape, and that kind of got the ball rolling. I mean, I will always be happy with Godzilla, whether he's CGI or a guy in a suit, but unfortunately, 10-year-old Japanese kids who grew up on Marvel and, Iron Man movies and whatnot, they kind of expect that aesthetic, so I was very happy to see Japan kind of embrace that. And I just love how he's just
I know.
working his way.
Making
Yeah.
my way downtown. Crawling fast, I guess.
I guess.
That one guy.
Shuffling.
He is shuffling.
I love this bit right here. This actually made me kind of chuckle out loud in the movie theater.
Which part?
He's gonna come up and say something like, "Yeah, we don't expect it to come on land." So,
Should beat yourself in the
Yeah.
show. Yeah.
which realistically is exactly what would happen. Yeah, right. And cue punchline.
Please set your minds at ease. It's on land.
Yeah. Yeah,
JK.
That's pretty good.
yeah, this shot coming up here is insane.
Now, I
I
must
love-
confess, I want to confess to everyone, that I fell asleep in the theater
Did you
during
really?
this movie. Yes.
I didn't know that.
Which part?
You
Oh,
didn't?
Man, no.
I think it was somewhere in the middle. Because
Okay.
there's a lot of...
Yeah, the movie slows down a lot.
Yeah,
in the
it's
center.
there's a big chunk that's like really slow, and it's just 100% dialogue and close-ups of like all like political stuff I didn't understand, and like again, I mean it was subtitled in the theater.
It was late too.
It was tough.
Well, I remember
But,
when we watched 84 together, and I basically said this.
He is.
I know this is like a modern version
Yeah.
of also 84, but you felt that 84, even in that movie, it slows down a little bit when he gets like knocked out for a little bit. But I remember you had said that you felt that movie kind of paced it a bit better. There were definitely slow moments,
Yeah.
but it never slowed down to the degree of like this film does.
Yeah, like this one, it was like
And I'm
I felt
inclined to
like
agree.
that's my only complaint. Like that's my complaint with this movie is just that there's a point where it's like.
Screeching halt.
Yeah, like, oh my gosh, am I what am I watching? Like, am I watching a Godzilla movie?
Again, this is a much slower paced film, but
Yeah.
even I was like, there was a point where I was like, and again, I like slow movies, but yeah, there was a point where again, a lot of people don't like 84. Some people don't like 84 because they feel it slows down, but it kind of slows, but it's still moving. Where there is a point in this where I feel it does kind of just
But
stop.
like the set pieces in this movie
Are
I will
fantastic.
say, are really awesome.
Yeah, and also not a lot of miniature sets. They actually composite Godzilla.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a few like, miniatures that they add in like for close up, but a lot of the like right here, this is a real shot of the city,
Yeah.
and they composite it, and the destruction is digital.
Yeah.
Dude, I love this Godzilla.
Oh, no.
This form is so adorable. It's like ugly but cute.
Oh, there were so many like cute little comics they did online
I
of
know.
him being really adorable. Like the scientist, the woman in here that like is studying that trying to understand him. There's all these shots of her like working on her laptop and like this form of Godzilla peeking up from behind the desk like a puppy.
You know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna look at the IMDb of Gamera 3.
See, I looked, but I was like, I don't remember what her character
There's
was.
I looked at it too, but
She
most
looks
of
like the horny one.
Which
but
one?
that-
I don't
but
think she'll be
that one
listed
doesn't
as.
IMDb doesn't have a lot of photos of the actors,
Yeah.
unfortunately.
She won't be listed as Gamera 3 horny actress.
No, unfortunately not.
Is it The Revenge of Iris?
Yeah.
Okay.
I love the music though in here.
I know. I love this kind of music, like the weird, like
Well, yeah,
like chanty music.
yeah. Well, no, Japan loved this. A lot of Eastern music. They do a lot of that very
So
serious. Yeah, and I love that. I love huge, epic scores,
Yeah.
like especially for something like Godzilla. And this Godzilla is meant to feel very apocalyptic.
I like how he's just like, get this shit out of the way.
I wish I knew like the characters' names in these movies.
I know.
Well, I think every time they pop up, they'll have like their title, which is another thing I know a lot of Western people got down for. There was so much text on screen. I'm like, that's the joke. Is that here's all these people with all these titles, and ultimately it's just kind of all pointless. And that was meant to be frustrating. Because yeah, exactly. The politics are so bogged down in politics that who this person is and what specific part of the cabinet, it doesn't matter. And that was the point. Like, it doesn't matter.
Shouldn't have packed people. Should have left.
But again, I love the way this... I love how it's basically just a fish flopping on land. Like, you can see that
know.
it doesn't belong, and that's why he
So
self-evolves.
cute.
Well, again, I like how his evolution is based on, like, his need to survive in an environment. So right here, this form...
And now
Isn't-
he's starting to get into this crap. Not crap. You know what I mean? Like all the
Yeah.
specifics.
Yeah, and again, and I love how it's showing you how difficult it is for Japan to actually deal with this crisis because of the treaty. For them just to take a shot, they have to analyze so many things, and I think that's kind of the whole point: is that the public is frustrated because in the face of a crisis like this, whereas America, if something just attacks America, it's like lock and load, let's go. Whereas Japan, they can't do that. They're, bound by international law, where for them just to open fire, they have to really make sure that they are, in terms of international law, they have the right to do so. And how tied their hands are and the frustration that comes with that. So, it was very much a commentary on just how difficult it is for them to defend themselves, essentially, and why they are kind of depend. Yeah, right here. They're saying, the U.S. do it. And that's why they depend on the U.S. so much. It's not really because they want to. It's just they kind of have to. We have the right and ability, or not the right, but we have the legal ability just to go in there and blow Godzilla away, whereas they might not. So they're just like, okay, well, if we can't do it, will you guys do it for us? And they're not happy about that, but they don't really have a choice. So this is really interesting, and this is something I'm glad the film does, because no Godzilla film in Japan has ever done this before. They all just kind of were like, okay, send in self-defense force and open fire. But realistically, this is what it would be like. It's like, can we actually shoot him? If we start unloading artillery fire on Japanese soil, is that a violation, or is it like okay? Meanwhile, while they're debating this, people are dying because Godzilla is just, trampling the city. So when this stuff is integrated with it, it's done really well. But yeah, there will be a point in the middle where it's like, okay, you're going to learn way more about Japanese international law than you ever expected to. So if nothing else, you're going to be well educated at the end of this movie.
It's like the same issue everybody had with the Star Wars, with Episode 1.
Oh, yeah.
And
international space trade.
Yeah.
All I know is if we ever have space trade...
I don't care. I came here to see pew-pews and
and I'm learning about trade disputes and votes of no confidence. And I'm like, but to be fair, if there's ever space trade...
Why is Keira Knightley impersonating that princess? I have no idea.
This guy's just like, God damn it.
But like the payoff in this movie is very much worth it.
Oh
yeah, no, definitely. Especially when Godzilla, goes in raver mode.
I know.
Yeah, that was awesome. I remember seeing that in the theater and just being like, wow. Whoa, that was cool.
Like, you thought it was cool in 2014 when he just shot the blue atomic breath, and in this movie it's like drop the beat and it's like cue the glow stick.
I don't know, that shot, and it looked even cooler in motion in the trailer of the upcoming King of Monsters.
Yeah.
Him just firing it into the
atmosphere.
And
they have to up their game after this movie.
I'm like, I want to know what's going on there. Like, is he terraforming?
They're like, they're probably sitting around like the meaning. All right, guys, we probably can't get away with the laser back. So what else can we do?
Or is that a
call to arms?
Yeah, that's what
like like Avengers Assemble.
Is that a Godzilla's Avengers Assemble?
I'm a badass.
Like, I can just do that. Like, watch me.
Yeah. Yeah, King Ghidorah. Well, can you do this?
And then King Ghidorah's like, yeah, and I can do it 3 times.
Yeah,
I got 3 heads, bitch. He's like, oh, well played, sir.
God damn.
I love how he ass in the air, just face dragging. And I love when he transforms here. At one point he's like, all right, fuck this isn't working out. I gotta.
Now I forget. Does he have 2? Does he go right into Godzilla form, or does he have?
He has one more form in between this. Yeah, and then he kind of goes into the fight. Because I can't remember. You're already falling asleep. Right into the boring part yet.
Jeez, okay. I can't remember the second.
Yeah, right. Because you see it really briefly here. Like right here, he's gonna kind of.
No, he's like a cat.
Oh yeah, he gives himself some.
Ow.
I mean, he's got some big ass skills.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's where they think he's dead. Right? Don't they think he's?
They're like one, because it just happened. I gotta say though, I'm not a big fan of this effect on how he transforms.
Yeah.
It looks a little like, I don't know, we'll just do some shit and he transforms. Like right here, that's cool, but then his body's gonna do a weird I don't know.
It's like it's staticky.
Yeah, I'm just kind of like. Again,
it's like it's wavy. Yeah, rippling.
Well, yeah. I mean, it's not much of an effect. It's a 2-dimensional effect. Is the problem. Like it's.
And right here, they use the original 1954 roar. So all the roars in this movie are like the greatest hits of
Progressive,
Godzilla.
I
They're
know.
all like the different roars. The only problem I have with this is that because all those roars were recorded in mono and not stereo,
Yeah.
you can tell they don't match the overall sound design. And this music right here is also from 54. So while I like the musical cues, I kind of feel stuff like this, unfortunately, with Anno, it was almost a little too much of a love letter to the original and not giving it as much of an
It's not
identity.
as integrated.
If he had maybe re-recorded the song and
Yeah.
did like his own tape, because one of the things I also like about Godzilla films, Jam, is like the soundtrack, the music. One reason I love 84 is that it has a very distinctive soundtrack.
Mm-hmm.
But this kind of feels like, okay, it's the 54 music, which I get it, but
No, size-wise, is he about the size of 54?
yeah, right here he's about 50 meters. So here, weirdly, it's kind of like Godzilla 54 in the modern age. And granted, he looks a little bit weirder, obviously, but
Yeah.
this is like really this moment here is like his homage to that film. This is basically if that moment was here and now. This would be so fucking freaky.
Yeah.
Just come around that corner and be like, oh
I would
shit,
immediately just crash into a building.
like fuck.
Yeah.
I would have just kissed my Top Gun dreams goodbye and be like, I'm out. Just to put that song in here instead. See, everything right here, they have to wait and see before opening fire.
Yeah.
They have to go.
Well, I mean,
to
I
ask.
made that joke in one of the earlier standing by.
Yeah, standing by, yeah.
Standing by. They're like, gosh, they stand by a lot.
Yeah. And here, this movie takes it to the nth degree. Like,
Yeah.
oh, Godzilla's just a, so we doing this?
Aim for the head. Which one? That's what they'll be saying when they're fighting camera.
Yep.
Aim for the head. Which one?
It's like, so,
Standoff.
I honestly can't believe The Rock is not in King of Monsters.
because he would be the king of monsters.
I'm okay with him not being in it, but
Oh,
I'm
they
just saying,
should go through the
I'm
line.
kind of surprised.
So I love right here, they have to decide, okay, is it worth sacrificing just like a couple people? Or, because this moment right here,
Abort the attack.
we don't actually know if Godzilla at this point was vulnerable.
Yeah.
Because he hasn't taken any fire yet.
Yeah.
So, for all we know, it could have just, bounced
Oh,
off.
it could have killed him.
Yeah. But because they don't actually go through with this, when he comes back, by that point, he's invulnerable. So we don't know that decision could have cost millions of lives.
I'm going to go with it did.
Yeah, I kind of think it did.
Yeah, so she's the defense minister. So
Okay.
that is Kimiko Yo. So it wasn't her in Gamera.
It was not?
It was not.
Okay.
Confirmation.
Why does she look so horny?
It's just a thing.
And I like how they explain the initial reason why Godzilla, they always say Godzilla went in the water was to kind of cool down his reactor core. And I like how they show like his back was starting to glow, like he was overheating. So he had to go back in the water to cool down. And because this is Anno, cue the smooth jazz.
I know.
Yeah.
I feel like that's so Anno though.
It is. It's one of those things where I'm
So
just like,
Anno.
That is so honest.
it is so on brand for Anno.
Classic Anno.
Is that what you're going to start saying now?
Yeah.
Anno,
'Cause I started-
tell us what you were thinking when you picked this track.
This is from Evangelion too. That's the other thing too. It's like they're either using music from like previous Godzilla films.
That would have been
Or
awesome
they're
if
using
Anno
music from-
started explaining like he was here this whole time.
It'd be amazing. Yeah, we don't got that kind of clout, folks. But no, this again and again. I was said to. I like it when filmmakers.
It's weird how they're all lined up like that. Why are you guys just standing there?
Because they're standing by. That's what they were told to do.
Well, that's basically what they're saying. Like, the thing was, we let this thing run loose for 2 hours, and we did nothing. Like, why? Why? We have military, we have weapons. Why did it take 2 hours to even mobilize, and ultimately we didn't do anything to it? It's like, that's kind of, again, what a lot of Japanese people were kind of frustrated with the government. It's like, well, just do something. Just do anything. And instead you just kind of sit around and just talk. And that was kind of, that's basically, what this whole film was about. It's just like, while you're talking, we're dying. And the younger generation is frustration with that. Like, this guy, he's basically saying, like, could this have been avoided? Did we even try? And the other guy saying, don't get too smug, because over there, the younger generation always has to take a backseat to the older one. So even though if you want to speak up and say, you can't. You unfortunately have to sit there and just keep your head down.
And I feel like, unlike America, for the most part anyways, like, Japan, they really revere and respect their elderly.
Yeah.
Whereas here, I feel like, it's not that.
Shut up, Grandpa. America's got...
because you've already talked about it, like, the culture there, it's like, they work until...
They die.
So they stated, like... But America has always kind of, like, had this mentality of... growing up, it's like you're the next generation to take the place of the older generation in the world, in the working world, and there's good things about that, and there's bad things about that. And we're seeing. I mean, this movie, as we've already talked about, is a criticism of the status quo, which is. The frustration from the younger generation, it sounds like, of not having
enough of a say, or not being allowed
or not really take their place in in society. They're
you essentially have to wait till you yourself are kind of old before
it's
your turn.
Right. And
again, there is something to be said for experience, but in a situation like this, no one has experience in this. This is especially in the continuity of this film. This Godzilla is unprecedented. So nobody knows what the hell they're doing.
People with balls.
Yeah, that.
Yeah, we need some people with balls.
Now, one thing that looks like
fire all the women.
Wow.
Oh, wow. Cue
Even
the
though there's,
comments.
like, barely
We
any
need
women
more
here.
testicles.
Now, this movie does do something that I wish 2014 had done, and King of the Monsters looks like it is doing.
Yeah.
By the way, folks, in case you haven't, depending on when you're listening to this, King of the Monsters has not come out, hence why we're...
Just had a bomb-ass trailer.
Yeah. But I like how there's a ragtag bunch of people being assembled to deal with this shit, which is... Yeah, they're basically saying that troublemakers, outcasts, basically like the...
outside the box thinkers.
Exactly. And that's what I really liked that this film did. It's like you're dealing with a...
And that's kind of like a common thread of a lot of the Godzilla movies, is there's always like this task force.
Yeah.
There's people...
Which is what I like Monarch a lot, and why I was kind of bummed in 2014 that they didn't kind of really just follow Monarch, because I'm kind of like, no, these are the guys who are figuring this shit out. Like, I don't want to just follow just the regular military. So I like that right away, this film, you're not just following the regular politics. You start off with that, you show how kind of ineffectual they're, like, okay, let's put together a bunch of weirdos who can deal with a really weird situation, and that's our group, which I really dig. So this movie...
Let's put together a league
of sorts.
Extraordinary gentlemen. Ever see that movie?
I did. But we gotta be politically correct. It's a league of extraordinary gentle people. Yeah.
Yeah.
The league of extraordinary gentle persons.
They're incredibly gentle. Gentle beings. I'm not gonna assume they're...
The gentle.
We're not gonna assume they're human even, because that's just,
Actually, some of them aren't.
That's speciest.
Species.
Species. We don't want to be specists here. Assume that they're just humans.
I would never.
And because it's an Anno movie, we have to have a deadpan woman character.
I know.
Behold, the live-action Ray Ayanami.
But I do have to say, I kind of love that, like, normally in Japan,
That's
especially
impossible.
businesswomen, they're expected to, look very girly, all done up with makeup. So I love that she's a character that just kind of doesn't give a
Yeah,
fuck.
no, she is a character. She is all about... She's down to business. She's not fucking around. No. Well, she became a lot of people's favorite character, and she's one of mine, too, because she's
not fucking around. Are you kidding me?
She ain't fucking around,
man. How do you think she got to the position that she's in today?
Oh, shots fired. Damn.
She's a hard-working woman.
I'm just kidding. I don't know her.
That was me when the new Godzilla trailer dropped.
Yeah. Is that possible?
Yep.
He just found out it is nuclear fission.
And she predicted that too, because they were basically saying like something like Godzilla cannot.
Well, and that's the guy that said that's not possible.
Yeah, and she called it.
He's like, oh my god, it's happening.
again, they're learning now that to really understand what he is, they just
That
start
guy
thinking
looks
outside the
familiar
box.
with the scarf.
The older gentleman.
Yeah.
He's been again. I've seen him in a few other Japanese films. I don't know his name, but
Was he been in any other like Godzilla films?
I don't know.
Pink scarf man.
I would not be
towel.
surprised. But again, this is kind of a
Towel.
who's who of like big Japanese actors.
Okay.
So if you watch a lot of,
I don't.
no, that's not him.
I imagine he wears that pink scarf everywhere, so you should probably see him in it in his picture.
That's just like that's his look. He just becomes.
I've never seen him in a Japanese film without it. You're right. I'll meet the press. Let me talk to the Prime Minister.
And I love how you see what it's like to deal with the kind of American government from like the other side. Now, there is a supposed to be Japanese American character in this film who does speak English a lot, and I've always said this too. Like, if this language is not your first language and someone speaks it, you might be thinking, okay, they're speaking English fine, but as native English, right here, like you will hear her speaking English, and she's supposed to be born or raised in America. But her English is clearly not someone born and raised. But to Japanese ears, I think it just sounded like, oh, because she's a huge actress in Japan. And so to them, they just heard, oh, yeah, she's speaking English, so clearly it works. Whereas I know the actress who played Katana in the Suicide Squad movie, apparently her Japanese was not like traditional, what you would hear over there. But to all our ears, it was like, oh, Japanese must be, Japanese. But native speakers were like, they could tell.
Yeah. When does she speak English?
And I hear that she puts like a weird like accent on her.
Huh.
And I kind of feel his is better.
I mean, it's not bad. She has an accent.
Yeah, well, again,
If she was supposed to be born and raised in America.
Yeah, that was the thing. If she was just working over in America, like as a foreign administrator, or something, like, okay, yeah, she speaks English with a Japanese accent. Makes sense. She's from Japan. Nope, supposed to be born and raised. And I'm like,
I forgive
oh,
her.
didn't get out too much then. Homeschooled with just your Japanese-speaking family, maybe.
Did you learn English watching Friends reruns?
Now, granted, her English is probably way better than my Japanese, so
Sure.
I'm not the judge. I'm just saying, it's just, again, when I say
You're
this,
saying she sucks
oh,
at
God.
English.
All I'm saying is that this is another example of like you can see this film was marketed to a Japanese audience who, to them, again, oh, it's English. I can't understand it, therefore, sure, she's from America. Whereas, again, to us, it's like, And I love how they kind of made her very kind of cocky and arrogant, too, which is like kind of the stereotype of Americans and not
like
entirely
the
unfounded.
subservient, woman that
Yeah.
Japan.
Well, I think that's
Japanese
also they're trying to
society
show.
kinda-
Yeah. Well, the thing they're trying to show that someone raised in America would have a very different kind of probably demeanor than someone raised in Japan. So. I also the fact she just kind of goes back and forth. I'm just kind of like,
I know.
It's like, wow.
Oh, take the photos to share with my team.
So the first time you hear his name in the movie, it is the American pronunciation. I love that because they reversed it. Because in real life, obviously, he was Gojira first, and it was actually Japan mistranslating his name into English when they were trying to market it overseas. So actually, the term Godzilla came from them when they weren't quite sure how the vowels would work. So that's how they mistakenly spelled it. So I love how in this version they did it the opposite, where his name was Godzilla first, and they kind of had to
Gojira.
translate it weirdly into Japanese.
See, the Americans work so much faster. They were able to name him already.
I mean,
They didn't even have a team working on a name yet.
I know, right? They weren't even there. It's just the team is still in like a meeting.
Yeah, they're still like they're gonna vote one guy off the island, and then they're gonna get to work.
On the name.
Yep, on the name, and then they'll work on defeating him.
First, they have to vote on the naming committee.
Yeah, yes.
Or just have a random child walk into the, war council room, as always.
Yeah.
That's usually how it works.
Yeah.
I always say it, like, the first person who'd go in the media and say a name, no matter how ridiculous it is, the media would just run with it.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
So, like, how now here they're explaining the new origin.
Everybody's calling him "grab her by the pussy."
Oh, God.
Oh!
Everyone remembers that meme, right?
grab her by the pussy was spotted offshore. Like, oh, damn! Grab her by the pussy is moving inland, quick! Mobilize the self-defense force. Grab her by the pussy has made landfall.
Fear not, citizens. The creature is so large that if grab her by the pussy were to make landfall, it would be crushed by its own weight.
Wait, what? Grab her by the pussy's on land. Damn it!
Goddamn, grab her by the pussy. Is she from the CIA?
She works for like she's like a direct line to the president. Basically, she's like the president's dossier.
Okay, so we're gonna say something about the CIA or NSA.
So I love basically this scientist knew this thing was down there, and basically wanted to kind of not punish us, but force us. Basically kind of force like, do we have a right to live? Do we deserve to survive Godzilla? And if we do, we have to understand what he is. We actually have to work together and get something done instead of just bickering back and forth. So if we can actually decipher all this data, he's basically saying, then we've earned the right, we've earned our place. If we can't figure it out, it's because we weren't working together and we were too busy just doing what we always do, and therefore we really just deserve whatever happens to us. So I like Godzilla, if really is, in this film, is kind of like a test for humanity. He's kind of like our... he's our end boss, so to speak. It's like, if we can't work together, we will never stop him, essentially. So, yeah. So it's kind of a really cool kind of metaphor for him. This movie is really more about us than it is him this time around. It's really more about, if the original Godzilla was a punishment or a consequence, this one is a test. And it's pass or fail, basically. There's no in between. You either get an F or an A, essentially. Or whatever, grading system you use in your country. I don't know. I'm not going to assume you're all American.
That's some ugly ass freaking lazy boys.
I was kind of thinking, I'm like, whoa.
Hideous. They've probably been there since like the 70s, so let's be real.
Fire your interior designer.
I think I looked kind of oddly amused by that.
I know.
It'll take years to sequence all of it.
Maybe that's his jam, man.
Maybe that's his jam. It's like,
they're excited.
I'm going to be employed for years, bruh.
Oh, yeah.
Is it mortal?
I sure hope so.
See, this is the parts right here that I feel are for instance, you wouldn't really see in a mainstream Hollywood film. There would be discussions, sure, about what to do,
It
but
would be a montage or something.
it'd be much more streamlined. Like right
Yeah.
here, this scene is just a bunch of people sitting around a table just figuring shit out, which I don't know.
It's
dig
more
that.
realistic.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, this is basically what would be happening. We'd have a room full of just people like just throwing out ideas and theories and trying to break it down, and we wouldn't be seeing anything on TV till they kind of have at least an idea of what might be going on. But ultimately, this is what it is. People are going, so this is some shit, isn't it? What do you think? Yeah, and I like right away she's being smart about it. She's saying, okay, killing him right now might be a tall order, but if we can at least stop him, at least if we can keep him still long enough, it'll buy us some time, because right now the priority needs to be keeping him from killing people. And killing him might be a more long-term solution. In terms
Also,
of
like, the way this is shot, it just, I don't know, it just didn't work for me.
the close-up faces.
Yeah, where it's all close up, just cut to everybody, like every time they
Again,
speak,
it's
like
It's very
direct-
Ano, yeah.
It's
directly
very
at the
Ano.
camera. Like,
So, okay, so right there, they just had those protesters saying Godzilla's God, save Godzilla. I really, really like that, because in real life there would be
Yeah.
people who would be like,
protesting.
yeah, and condemning any effort to kill him.
God, these poor guys.
because he's one of a kind.
Exactly, but he has not yet caused the level of destruction you would expect him to do in a Godzilla movie. Right, the destruction he's done so far has been very much akin to like
Incidental.
a wild animal just kind of running loose
Yeah.
in the city, confused and scared. He hasn't Godzilla rampaged yet.
not what he is.
Yeah, but literally when he wipes out Tokyo, I kind of feel like, all right, that's when you start seeing all that stuff kind of fade away. It's like, okay.
Yeah, it's like that moment in Independence Day when all those
People on the
people
building.
with the welcome, yeah,
Yeah.
just get zapped.
Well, it's probably why the protests stopped, because they all got
Yeah,
zapped.
that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, I'm sure a lot of those people were probably in the city when Godzilla later on just like obliterates it, because they're thinking like, oh, he's a god. And which I think is interesting too. Again, Pacific Rim even did, where they talked about there's like religions that sprouted up around saying that the kaiju are sent from the heavens, because again, there's a kaiju is so, incredible in terms of what it is that there's nothing else like it. So it makes sense there's going to be some people who are just going to look at it and just deify it.
You smell.
Oh.
tell up, sister. Smells a little rank.
He throws that thing at the back of her head. How dare you?
A shower would do you good.
Go fucking clean yourself up.
Take the hint, bro. And here we go.
And it's coming ashore. Oh goodness,
Yep.
he looks a little big.
He's got those thunder thighs.
I like the music here too.
Classic guy. Yep. Dun, dun,
So
dun.
maybe this is the resurgence.
Well, see, right here, he is resurging because he's already surged.
Yeah,
So
it's surge.
from this point on, the movie is Godzilla
So this is part 2.
Resurgence.
They should have brought back the
Oh my
Soda
goodness.
Surge with him on it.
And this is all digital right here. And that fucking tail.
I know.
That tail was
That is a
ridiculous.
really cool shot. I remember. I think you showed me the trailer.
Yeah.
that was in the trailers.
I mean, just imagine seeing that just go overhead like that. That is...
Though I wish they added like a huge wind effect, because that thing moving like that would be like.
You like the Rodan thing where you
I mean,
just
maybe not that extreme, but it would be.
Well, remember in like Monster Planet
Yes.
or Planet of the Monsters, his tail, he was so big that when his tail like swept over the forest, just
Yeah.
ignited the forest.
Ridiculous, yeah.
That was amazing.
But his tail is like longer than him.
Yeah.
Like that's the thing. If his body mass matched the tail, he would be like, bigger.
Big.
Yeah. What I'm trying to say is,
he'd be
I do
large.
like
He
that
would
they
be
fucking added
larger.
like the rumble.
Nobody worry. If he comes on shore, he will be crushed underneath his weight. What?
You're crazy.
Am I crazy or has he gotten bigger? Beyond expectation. Different face and body. His size is nearly doubled. Wait, it's fourth form.
that first form you saw, with the tail come out of the water, apparently that was meant to be like a tadpole form.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. 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 I don't know.
I love how he's got the, and everyone was always commenting too. He's got, it's probably one of my favorite shots. He's just above the trees, the birds.
Yeah.
But it's where he's got the little arms that are
Yeah.
fixed in the upright position, and that became like such a thing. Where I remember seeing the red carpet, and the whole cast was posing, doing the hand. And when they're all.
Makes me think that this isn't even his final form yet.
Well, the very end of the movie, it implies that he was still going. Like, that was like they said he was going to constantly keep evolving
Well,
until.
that's why I'm surprised that we're not going to see this Godzilla again.
Well, it's because what he was going to evolve into next would no longer really be Godzilla, which was kind of like. But again, that's I'm saying this movie kind of hit the nail on the head in terms of what it was trying to accomplish. That it's just kind of, for what this movie is supposed to be, it's perfect.
I love these kind of shots.
Yeah.
Too.
Well, I remember they showed the making of how they
Yeah.
showed them like driving along, just filming upward, and then doing all different rendering passes and adding him in. But like, man, look at that! Like, I love that his hip is above the tree line.
I know.
Essentially, his hip is where the original Godzilla's head would be, because he's over 100 meters here. I think he's like 112, 113, and the original Godzilla is 50. So he's more than double the height of the original. Which I kind of wonder, was that meant to be a bit of like a pissing contest for the American one? Because the American one at the time was the biggest one.
Probably.
But like, I think the American one was like 108 meters. And the one before that in Japan was 100. So they're like, okay, well, our Godzilla will be 112. Just a little bit. Even though they did like a side-by-side comparison with the legendary one. And this Godzilla stands very straight. And the legendary one is hunched over. So technically, if the legendary one stood perfectly vertical, he would pretty much be the same height.
Yeah.
But he's a lot bulkier.
Is the legendary Godzilla going to be bigger
I don't know.
than King of Monsters?
I don't know. His spine's like a little different, so he might have grown. They just edged it up. Well, this our Godzilla's
So
115
honestly,
meters.
I think they should go just completely bonkers.
Well-
Size and just go humongous.
Well, they did in the animated ones. He's over 300 meters.
Yeah.
This Godzilla is at the knee of the Planet of the Monsters Godzilla. Like, that's how big this one. It's like, at the point I'm just like, shit. Like, okay. Like, fuck. Okay, hey, the mountain's walking now.
I need to watch that.
Yeah, he's ridiculously big, because I did a side-by-side comparison, and he had to stand in the background of all the other Godzillas, otherwise you wouldn't see them.
Right.
Yeah, the top of Shin's head is right at his knee.
And Shin is like the second largest.
Yeah, in terms of height. Mass, well, if you're not... I almost don't include the animated Godzilla, because he's on a level that is just like, fuck it, no one's even coming close to him. But in terms of not including him, bulk-wise, the legendary one is the largest, but Shin is the tallest. Shin has the most vertical posture probably of any Godzilla. Again, all digital shots here too. Like, all this here is like incredible. For a Japanese film, this looks amazing. I love the tail, just a slow. It's like a big cat almost, just. But yeah, man, look at that. If he just dropped his tail, that would take out like 2 blocks.
He's kind of.
That's one thing. I would like to see this Godzilla fight another monster.
But that's, he would have to fight in a completely different.
Well, he'd probably use that tail.
Well, that's what I'm saying. He would just kind of just turn around and just start swatting at you with that thing. Because this Godzilla feels.
Well, and we'd probably see him like evolve in interesting ways.
Yeah, that's something. I don't think this form would be really. I think maybe this form would be attacked by something else, and then it would evolve to now be able to hand. Because that's basically
turn into legendaries.
Yeah, basically. Well, if you look at the legendary Godzilla, that Godzilla is designed specifically in mind to fight. Like, I love it. It sounds like he's bouncing off metal.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, this Godzilla is essentially designed to be a monolith. Like, that's what's cool about how they incorporate the evolution, is that it changes according to what it needs to be.
Yeah.
So it's not really built for like combat, but in this universe, there's nothing to fight it. But if something came out of the water or flew down and started just hitting it, I think you would see it take some lickings, and honestly maybe retreat back into the ocean, and come back out as something more grapply, more like more like the legendary Godzilla or previous Godzillas, because that is a Godzilla that had to fight other monsters. So they designed it to be like a big kind of brawny dude, whereas this Godzilla is more of a creature.
See, I would like to see like it wrap its tail around some sort of creature, and then pin it like onto, like bend down and pin it onto its back, and then fire its.
Oh,
Oh
the
my
lasers!
God.
Yeah.
That would be cool.
And you just see it just like erupt, like just. And then you show like the back of the creature like start to glow, and then it just shoots
Explodes
through.
out.
Yeah,
That would be cool. Well, basically, just almost use that tail like a constrictor.
yeah,
just,
that's all I'm saying.
and like choke it out and just
and then
pin
just
it to
laser it.
Yeah, that would actually be very cool, because that would be fighting in a way that no other Godzilla's ever really fought before.
Yeah,
Utilizing its anatomy, that would be cool. If they ever put Shin in a Godzilla fighting game, like, that'd be a cool way to make him fight. Like he just like grapples you with the tail, holds you, and just like laser fires you. Yeah. Now I will say this in terms of using CGI. Like obviously this Godzilla is very slow, so he doesn't have to do as much. So because it's much easier to digitally animate something that's not moving a lot.
Yeah.
Because there are going to be a few shots coming up where when he moves faster, you can kind of tell. It's like, okay. And all these sound effects of the shots are from classic Godzilla movies, too.
I know, you can tell.
Yeah, which is cool, and it's kind of a cool mod. But like I said, that was my only kind of issue with Anno's style, was that I get it. He's a fan, and I am too. But to me, to do something as an homage, do something like that, but how it would be done today, as opposed to just lifting the audio tracks just from those movies, because they're not really then giving the movie as much of its own identity.
I always thought this was funny.
Yeah, just
You really can't see its face, but it's just like
engulfed, but it just keeps walking.
yeah.
Keeps walking. Like it's just, I say this Godzilla. It almost feels like you're wondering, like,
He's like an indestructible wall that
Yeah.
keeps coming at you.
See, now I like those close-ups of like this, on like the machinery and like the
Yeah.
weapons and stuff. But like on everybody's faces during like on every dialogue sequence,
yeah,
it just
it's
throws me off.
Otto.
yeah. Well, again, it's this move. Love it or hate
It's
it.
his style.
It's you
No, I know.
won't
but,
mistake
like,
it for
I
anybody
think it's
else.
because I just like when that's happening, like I keep looking at everybody's faces and then I don't read any of the dialogue,
Yeah, it's very tight.
and then I don't know what's going on.
Yeah, that might
it
be
just
something that
distracts
affects if you're reading this, relying on the subtitles. Yeah, it could throw you off because it's a very jarring shot of someone's face.
Yeah,
Whereas if
I
you're
don't
just-
think I would care if I was a native speaker.
Yeah, because you're
So,
not
or
reading.
anything.
You're
Yeah.
hearing with it. Yeah.
But it
Again,
it just draws my attention away from the
They
dialogue
just like bounce.
because
Also-
I'm like, oh, their face.
I also love how he has the membrane that goes over his eyes to protect it. Yeah, it makes you wonder how aware this Godzilla. It kind of strikes me as like this Godzilla essentially, unless something can actually hurt him, I'm wondering, does he even realize what's happening? Like, is it even conscious, or is it just like a machine? Like it's alive, but it's more like a biological machine. It's not aware of its surroundings until it incurs enough damage where it triggers its nerves. Because there's a point later on where you see Godzilla is hurt and you hear him
Fuck that
scream.
bridge.
Yeah. And it's something in that moment it becomes aware of outside stimuli. Right here, I don't really think it is. I think it's just instinctive like reflexes.
Well, I mean, yeah, it's still just walking.
Yeah.
Watch out! Oh.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
But I don't know. It seemed to maybe deliberately do that.
Again, it's hard to say, how aware he is. Because right here, and it's almost like a fish. It's just there.
Like
It's
a
got
fish.
dead fish eyes.
Yeah, which is I think one of the things that makes him so creepy, because it's just like it's this almost.
Oh no, that is
unfeeling
true.
thing.
That is like one big difference because like previous Godzillas have kind of displayed like expressions
Yeah.
like, in the face, and like this one does not.
Well, he's like devoid of emotion
Yeah.
almost.
Well, using 84 as a reference again, like that would have had like almost like permanent hatred on his face. Like he seemed
But it
permanently
looked
angry.
mad.
Yeah,
Yeah.
It was
Like-
a one note, but it was
Yeah.
a note.
Yeah, this is just
He's,
like
like,
that's what it
terrifying
is,
without
and it
scowling.
looks terrifying.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Like-
because there's nothing to connect to. Like
Yeah.
you can't relate to it because it's
Which
not,
I think is really cool. Like I think it's one thing that makes the design of this Godzilla so interesting is because it's just like it really is creepy.
Yeah.
Like,
because
there's something unsettling just by its presence and that's something that you don't really get from the other Godzillas. The other Godzillas is just cool to look at, like, oh wow, cool. But
it's scary in a badass way.
Yeah,
this is just scary. Well, it's kind of like a serial slasher movies when this killer wears a mask. You don't see their face, you don't see their expression, so there's a detachment there.
It's very cold.
Yeah, you can't really. That's why a lot of people are creeped out by reptiles, because you can't really read their expressions. Whereas like a mammal will growl and snarl, and you'll kind of be like, oh, I can tell the bear is angry. Whereas a crocodile, you can't tell if a crocodile is angry or sad or complacent. It's the same look. And this Godzilla is very okay. That shot right there. So I tell the story every time.
Oh my god.
When we went to,
I don't think it was that one. I think it was a different one.
It was one of those. When we went to Tokyo for our honeymoon. Okay, the B-2 bomber. My dad worked on this.
Story. What story are you gonna tell now?
Okay. Well, my point is, when we went to Skytree, we went to Tokyo for our honeymoon. We were up there at dusk on the highest level, and we saw a helicopter just hovering there, filming something. And this was around the time that this film was in production.
That's terrifying.
So I've always wondered, are they filming something for, this movie? And then I saw that shot in the trailer. I'm like, it's the right height, the right angle, and it would be a helicopter shot. So, long story short, I was in Shin Godzilla. I was in the movie. I was just left of that shot.
Just let him have it, guys.
I'm in the movie. I'm in the movie. I'm special. I'm in a Godzilla movie. I'm a big boy. I'm in a Godzilla movie.
Oh, thank God.
My life is awesome.
I want that to be true.
I want that to be true so bad. I know deep down it's not, but I'm going to keep telling everybody else. Don't take it away from me, people. I have so little to cling to in this life. Let me have it.
My life is a lie.
Oh my gosh.
If you've ever been to Japan, you know how organized the subways are.
Don't be alarmed. If it goes on the land,
everything's fine.
It's going to be crushed under its own weight. Things like this can't exist. Okay?
So cool.
I know.
Oh,
I
awesome.
Love that because I was reading after that's his blood that you're seeing.
Oh wait, where?
The red.
Oh, that's glowing.
Yeah, that's his blood.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. Because his blood.
That shot is giving me like very like legendary vibes, like a similar kind of like the just like the colors.
Yeah.
Where at night when you see Godzilla in the legendary one with the flares.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Like the red and then the contrast of like just.
Yeah, the use
and that's
of
like all it is like it's the fire and Godzilla and then like and that kind of reminded me like that kind of
it definitely had that feel. A lot of people were even saying too it reminded people of like Godzilla when he fought Destroyer, the burning Godzilla when he was like glowing like. But again, this Godzilla just feels like nightmare fuel. He's like a hellish interpretation of that, where it's like he's not cool, scary cool. Like when growing up, I wanted to be Godzilla. I don't think I'd want to be this Godzilla.
No, this Godzilla is a monster.
Yeah, through and through.
Yeah,
like you don't look at this Godzilla with wonder; you look at it with horror.
Like, well, it's very easy to look at this Godzilla and decide like this thing. We can't let this thing exist.
Exactly. Yeah, this is truly. But at the same time, because they're even saying it's evolution in the flesh, that it's all these elements they're finding it's by like this thing is almost like for this thing to exist is inevitable. We're doomed. Yeah. We cannot live in a world with this Godzilla. Whereas as badass as a legendary guy, and I know we keep referencing it, but these two films are
they're easy to compare because they're really close to together.
But that's a film where you can see like that Godzilla we could live in the shadow of. He is kind of like this giant warden of the world, whereas you realize this Godzilla is literally
he's a creature like that. The legendary Godzilla is like the more very large animal kind of Godzilla.
Yeah,
there's something like perverse and off about this one.
Yeah, this Godzilla is an extinction level event. So right here, boom.
Ooh, what were those?
Bombs from the B-2s.
Well, I know they were. Okay, so they're big bombs.
Yeah, and by the way, okay.
All that blood.
So this is interesting. People say like, okay, how strong is Godzilla compared to previous ones? This Godzilla actually is probably not as powerful as previous Godzillas we saw in terms of physical defense because we were able to harm it, whereas the legendary Godzilla took a nuke to the face. And right here, it's the first time it's reacting.
Yeah. He's like, you motherfuckers, that hurt.
And this is almost tragic because we're finally going to get the atomic breath, and you realize the atomic breath is what happens when its body builds up too much power, and it has to essentially vent.
Oh my gosh, its mouth, the way it's
It opens, yeah. So whereas before it was
gross.
a weapon, Godzilla's atomic was always like a weapon they would use. Here you realize that
it's a consequence of its anatomy.
yeah, and you realize that in this moment it's in pain. Like right here, Godzilla is in agony.
So that's like radiation liquidy.
Yeah, it is
gosh.
just pouring
And then-
out radiation.
and then that.
It's venting. Look at that.
Yeah.
So his ability to cause mass destruction is a side effect. Him doing this is literally like it's hurting him.
Oh my god, that was insane.
The fucking laser.
Yep. Boom.
It's coming.
So again, he can't. It shows like we cannot exist with him because him just.
Well, I like how like the breath like refined. Like,
Yeah.
Because it very much became a deliberate thing that he did because
He got super concentrated. Yeah. And now it's become like an animal that's just reacting aggressively. Like it's been triggered, and now it's just gonna lash out.
You think?
And apparently, what I heard, one of the reasons why they made it purple in this, because I know in Japan, purple is like
It's the
representative.
best color.
Well,
Purple
Yeah.
is a good color. I
but
like purple.
purple, I guess, is in Japanese culture and mythology. Boom! There we
Yeah.
go.
I like how it's all at the same time too.
Yep. Basically, his body's venting.
The rave has started.
But yeah, basically, purple represents like death in Japanese mythology. So the fact that his atomic breath is purple, he right now he is just death incarnate.
Oh my goodness, I honestly, it's been so long. I forgot the like scale.
Yeah.
of
And
the
there
destruction
goes-
in
Fucks
this.
the city up in no time at all.
Yeah.
Like it's literally the entire city.
Just gone. And that was the all the senior Japanese members of the cabinet, including the prime minister. So just like that, the old guard was wiped out.
You have been relieved.
Yeah, and the only people who are left now is the younger generation. So it basically kind of is a metaphor in Japanese society. The only time the younger generation can actually take power is when the older generation is literally gone. So for them to be able to do what they're going to do now, this had to happen. I'm not saying it's a good thing, but I'm just saying now they kind of, it's like be careful what you wish for. Yeah. And this reminds me of that shot in Evangelion too, where Ava Unit 1 is back. So like right here, he kind of walks a little and then just powers down. Yeah. So Godzilla has consequences to using his most powerful attack. Like
Even though, again, the one thing I always said before,
I think the tail should have gone down.
well, that, but like you should see him breathing or something. Like he's
That
just completely
shot
still.
right
Yeah,
there,
that
by
shot's
the way.
awesome.
Holy shit.
And the little glow trail leading
Yeah.
up to it.
So I think in this film, they kind of basically, because this Godzilla isn't as physical in terms of his mobility, so he's not knocking down buildings by punching them, they make up for it by all his powers, attacks.
Yeah.
So he has way more attacks, so he can just kind of stand in place and essentially wipe out the city that way, as opposed to, another Godzilla, which will just walk around the city knocking things down.
Yeah.
That whole sequence was just like, wow. Like he doesn't need to be able to just be mobile. He can again, look what he can do just by just standing in place. Like he did that just from a stationary position. He just turn, pivot, and like there goes Tokyo. Just and boom, like that. It's
And
gone.
3 B-2 bombers.
Yeah.
Anger time.
Again, think of the frustration that he must feel, because again, they're wondering like, could we have prevented this? Was there more we could have done? And now it's all on them. Like the younger generation, that's it. And it's one thing, you want the power, you want the responsibility, but when it finally lands on your shoulder, are you really ready for it? Because
Yeah.
now it's like, okay, put your money where your mouth is. You wanted this, now it's on you, dude. Like, what do you got?
Yeah. You shot. I went and got blown up by a monster, so you could have this chance.
You wanted your shot at the title, man. There you go.
What are you gonna do about it?
Got to fight Drago now.
You will lose.
You will lose. If he dies, he dies. I don't know. Shin kind of feels a little bit like Drago. This is just tall, no motion, no reaction.
Definitely some PEDs involved.
This immovable force. You're just throwing shots at him, no reaction.
Yeah.
And when he does one thing, just destruction and death.
Steroids.
That's all. That's all this really is.
They're
This
fucking awesome.
This is just a remake of Rocky 4. This is really what this all comes down to.
Rocky's Apollo Creed was the city.
Yep. Just got taken out. Like, boom.
He died.
And these younger guys are all Rocky. They're like, we got to train. We got to go to Siberia. We got to pull some
Every
some
movie
parts.
since Rocky is actually Rocky
Just a remake.
in some way. Like
Except Rocky 5.
Rocky's the new Odyssey. Everything is just like
It's just a variation of that.
yeah.
You can always just tie it to Rocky 4 some way, somehow. And even if you can't, God damn it, we're sure gonna try.
Agriculture minister.
Oh yeah, and I love that he's the senior member left. So here's a guy who's like never expected to be in this position, and now it's just dropped on him, and it's like,
Oh, that curry looks so good.
I know. Disaster
Yeah.
relief curry looks so good,
Yeah, it looks like.
and I'm not even
love
being
that.
sarcastic, folks. Like, I would literally get my ass blown up by Godzilla just to get some of that curry.
That curry will blow your ass up.
It's the other thing too in movies like this, they never show like after a major attack, like the government is like, okay, shit, who's in charge? Who's running
Yeah.
what? Like, who's essentially running the country? Like, how do we're in such a state of disarray? And this is a country that's as small as Japan. Now imagine this happened to a larger country. It would just be like, what the fuck do we do?
Priorities, man.
Hey man, you gotta eat. You feel bad for this guy too, like.
I don't feel bad for him. He had a great meal.
I know. I'd eat those noodles, even soggy. They looked amazing.
I'm not worried about that anymore.
So this is the part of the movie where it's going to kind of slow down. Like, again, this is like the part in 84 where Godzilla is kind of subdued and it quiets down, but this is going to take a while. Now, it does do something interesting because it's going to show you how Japan has to work with other countries and how, again, how it takes everybody working together to make this happen, but it's going to focus on this a lot more than previous films. So if you're not really used to slow films,
Yeah, check back in an hour.
yeah, it is kind of a like, all right, folks, strap in and start taking notes because you're going to learn a lot about how the Japanese government works, whether you want to or not. I mean, it is all interesting, but it does essentially take up a big chunk of the second act of the movie. I remember you were even saying to me, got out of the theater, like the beginning is really interesting, and then towards the end it like revs right back up big time.
Yeah.
But there is this part in the middle where it's like, I kind of feel like if this was Godzilla the miniseries, it would work a little bit better. But because it's a movie, it's like it just kind of stops.
Yeah.
Again, it's not interesting, but if you're not really used to it, it can be a bit jarring. Which I know that was kind of a lot of people's complaints who in the West who weren't really kind of used to this style of filmmaking, because in the West, especially America, movies move a lot faster. It's always a kind of very forward momentum. And if that's all you're used to, then yeah, this is going to be kind of maybe a bit of a slog for you. And see, right here, this is very Japanese, where it's very much, okay, we have to work together. There is no star. There is no superstar who's going to like, okay, guys, I'm going to do this. I'm going to rise to the challenge. I'm going to step out and be
one's gonna
exceptional.
be the hero.
Yeah, exactly. It's
Except for the guy telling everybody that we got to work together.
Yeah.
Because he's a star.
Well, that's about as heroic as you're going to get. And even then, his heroism, it basically comes from the fact that he is backed by all these other people. Like, he cannot do this on his own. So that's kind of cool too. Again, it's a very different mentality where Japan is all about the group, kind of the mentality. Whereas in America, it's like more about individualism. So you'll have your hero here, whereas here, and it's like no, it's all these different groups with all these different skill sets, kind of working together and utilizing those skill sets for like the whole. And this guy getting that tie on. I want them to build a giant, like, life-size statue of Godzilla, like, in the heart of Tokyo.
Oh my god.
Or at the very least, do, like, the bust of him, like, stomach up or chest up out of the bay, so you only kind of have to build, like, a part of him, but just, like, that'd be awesome.
That would be awesome.
Get on it. Build that statue.
Build it for me, people.
I mean, I was in the movie.
You know, I'm kind of the star.
Yep. Control Godzilla.
Now, interestingly enough here, I think his English is the best.
It is.
It's very good.
I think it's because
I'm
he
like, why are they speaking English in front of the Japanese prime minister? Aren't they
Yeah,
super disrespectful?
Well, I'm just kind of like, you're all... Apparently she's bilingual and can speak Japanese.
Yeah, so I'm like, why?
So it's kind of like, okay. But again,
We want the sexy actress to speak English. Bring in the white people.
Okay, and I like right here, they're bringing back the whole radiation thing. Like, God, they can't even get close to him. Because wherever he goes, he basically just turns it into like a fallout zone.
Who are those? Are those supposed to be like the
Like
American
foreign
scientists?
scientists and... But yeah, no, I think the way he was delivering his performance in English, he felt more natural. Like,
Yeah.
he was speaking more like you would if you just spoke, language where...
I mean, definitely. I mean, you saw.
It just sounds like she memorized what she was supposed to say, but
Yeah.
she didn't really.
Yeah, which...
I mean, whatever.
I
it's
don't.
fine.
It doesn't bother me.
But-
No, it's fine.
He has a racist.
Yeah, so... Clearly. I mean, she did a great job. I mean, she did a good, but again, I think that was meant to be for just, like,
Listen,
Japanese
let's be
ears.
real. We're never kind to anyone who speaks English in these movies because their English is usually pretty bad. I mean, let's put it this way: compared to all the other movies, their English is great in this one.
A lot of the movies we watched, the white people have had horrible.
Yeah,
English.
Well, and this
They
movie is
just
not
can
much
act.
better. Right here. Like, no one would say that.
Yeah.
Like, no one would say that. And again, I've always wondered, too, if it's because, Japanese people are going to write English dialogue the way perhaps they would speak it, where it's a lot of our delivery and choices of wording is different. Not just because the language is different, but just kind of our mentality. Like, no one in America
it's
would
just
say,
culture.
we need to utilize our nuclear wisdom for salvation of mankind. No one would fucking say that. We'd be like, listen, we got to start using nukes because this is probably the only thing that can kill Godzilla. And as a English speaker, I would probably write that scene that way, but they're writing it more flowery about talking about nuclear wisdom and salvation. I'm like, why? No one would say that. No one would say that. Okay, weirdest shot in the whole movie. Watch.
I know.
We're panning. We're panning. We're panning. We're panning.
Standing by.
We're still going.
This is very weird.
We're panning.
And they're still talking.
We're getting to something, I'm sure.
Are we?
We're still panning. We're still going. Yep, going.
Almost
We're,
hit
we're,
third
we're, we're
ball.
panning on something, I'm sure.
Dropped
Wait.
on the country of my grandmother. who
We're
lived
still
so
panning.
much.
And then that's just like,
Yeah, that
what-
was
what-
bizarre.
everyone-
At least that they centered on them, but the fact that they just
Yeah.
kind of pushed them to the
well,
side.
it's weird. Every person I've heard talk about it, they all bring up that shot where it was just like, it was just a, what are we
What's
panning
going on?
to? What are we looking at?
Yeah.
I don't know. I try not to be like a film snob, when it comes- but I was even in
That
the
was
theater.
weird. Like,
Yeah, I remember watching the theater. Like, I was waiting for something just to pop on screen. Like, we're gonna maybe pan over to like some destruction from the attack, and Nope.
Man,
It's like
just,
they
it cuts to
wanted
a
to do it.
picture of destruction
Yeah.
from
Yeah.
World War II. Right? Like, that was an old picture.
Yeah. And I like how you're seeing the frustration here, too, is like their inability to act because of international law. And they're just so frustrated because all they want to do is defend themselves. And they can't. And kind of, the difficult
God,
position it
this
goes
guy
in.
is so old. He's an adorable Japanese grandpa that needs to go home and be with his grandkids. Like,
His
he doesn't need to be here.
Well, hope his grandkids weren't in Tokyo.
I know.
But even you see him, he wasn't expecting to ever do this. He was
Yeah.
never planning on being prime minister. I mean, he was in charge of, agriculture. It's like everyone is finding themselves now in a position they never expected or really asked to
They
be
weren't
in.
prepared for it.
Yeah, and they are kind of struggling now to kind of.
Well, they've got plenty of time to figure out what to do because everything takes forever.
He just goes, yeah, remember how I accepted this job? Yeah, I don't want it anymore.
I resign. Everyone just resigns.
Oh, Jesus.
And you can tell he probably wants to, but like
Yeah.
in Japanese society, that would be incredibly shameful.
Oh,
So
yeah.
he feels
I'm
locked
okay with
in.
that.
Yep.
Yeah. Again, it's
No one wants to make that call.
exactly. I love this whole conversation right here because it really kind of just sums up basically the issue at hand. Post-war Japan. That's the problem. Yep, extends forever. It's kind of like when does that kind of stigma end basically for them? It's it's kind of one of the things. It's a rule that's been on the books because of that, and it's just easier to leave it on the books than it is to kind of discuss taking it off. So they're still essentially being punished for, and that's the thing. The government in Japan now is an entirely new one from the Imperial Japan. So it's.
I mean, if you really think about it, it hasn't been that long.
No.
Like,
I mean, yeah, there's people who are still alive from that time.
well, yeah, and like, and so people, I mean, are still very, like, all over the world are just very aware of what happened, who did what, and and all that, and I mean, it's very clear Japan doesn't forget.
No.
Like it's very recent memory for Japan. The nuclear bombs.
Yeah.
Of course. Which that's gonna. So I would say it'll probably last like a couple hundred years from the end of the war.
Well, yeah.
Which.
Because they're the only country that's ever been on the receiving end of a nuclear assault in terms of combat. I mean, I know we've done testings on U.S. soil, but this is the only country that's actually been attacked with, where basically the nukes were actually used for their intended purpose as an actual weapon of war. And it's just now they were the victims of that, and now they might have to willingly allow it to happen again. And it's kind of just essentially a very cruel irony for them that this creature was created by nuclear waste, and now to destroy it, hopefully they have to unleash, that which, brought them to their knees once upon a time. So it's kind of a perspective you can only really get from a Japanese film. That's why, and I'm glad this film isn't shying away from that. They're just, they're tackling it head on. But yeah, no, you're right. They don't forget. I remember when we went to the Edo Museum over there, and they had the World War II exhibit, and I was always saying, I was like, wow, I'd never really thought, but I've never seen World War II discussed, from the Japanese perspective. I was very curious of what that was going to be like. And they presented it in a completely non-biased way. They were like, this is what would happen. This is what we did.
This music.
Whether you like it or not, this is our involvement. This is what we perpetrate. And they showed the bombings, what was left over. And I remember when I was looking at all the big photos of the destruction of the fire bombings in Japan, and someone wheeled up a very elderly gentleman in a wheelchair. I mean, he was very old, and he was just looking at the photos. I'm like, this guy probably was alive then. He would have been a kid, but he probably remembered seeing this. It was this weird moment where I realized that, they acknowledge what happened, and they don't shy away from the details.
Yeah.
So for them, this would be a very raw, nerve. This isn't something that's just it's just something we read about in history books or saw in a movie. No, for them this is like as a country they would still kind of feel the burn, so to speak, no pun intended. But I think it's like you said, because of that, it's going to be a while longer before, unfortunately, that stigma really goes away. Because even though Japan is not perpetrating,
I mean, the state of our world now is literally because of those 2 world wars.
Yeah,
Like those wars are what have
shape
created today's world, and to get to a point where those wars aren't influencing the modern day, it's gonna take a long time.
Yeah.
There's gonna have to be a lot of separation there because
Again, even though Japan is probably one of the most peaceful nations in the world right now, if you suddenly heard like, okay, Japan's gonna now have an offensive military, the initial knee-jerk reaction is gonna be like, oh, even though there's really no reason to be afraid of it at all, but people will still have that. It's like if you talk about, Germany right now is a very forward-thinking country, but if someone says, oh, imagine if Germany becomes, the leader of Europe, there's still that initial gut reaction of like, oh, even though, and that's the thing, like it takes a long time for history to really move past an event that large. And you think that it doesn't affect anything in the modern political landscape, but then again, something like this happens in the movie, and suddenly it's all about that. It's all about World War II. It's all about the fact that they were at odds with us, and we were at odds with them, and that is the reason why they are having so much difficulty now. It's because of something that happened that long ago, and that it's still something like this immediately puts it back into the forefront of politics.
I love how they say that too.
Yeah, it's like we're dealing with a giant fucking monster, people, and we are having trouble dealing with it because of a war that happened like how many decades ago? But like you said, it's the world is shaped by those wars.
Jesus.
I'm pretty sure that's all digital right there too.
Yeah, how would you even get that many buses? Like, that's insane.
Well, Japan is a very efficient country.
It's true.
If I had to be evacuated in any country, I would want it to be Japan because it'd be orderly, it'd be organized, it'd be good.
yeah, things were really moving.
That's why those shots of people in the subway freaking out is like shows you how dire the situation is. Because if there's Japan in the subway is the most orderly thing you will ever see, so the fact that it was not orderly shows you just how, bad what was happening. And you see kind of like the shady deals people have to make to kind of get information, and
It's my job after all.
Again, it's more like, the status quo has kind of gone down the drain, so now the younger generation have to resort to more extreme measures of just getting, or unorthodox, I should say, measures of getting things done.
Well, most of their information streams were probably destroyed.
Exactly. Yeah, we're kind of getting back to the gentleman we saw at the beginning of the movie, or rather, his boat, and kind of his connection to all this.
Hated radioactive materials.
Yeah, again, I like how this movie plays this up, because one of the things people were kind of, at least in America, I remember when this movie was coming out, people were saying, oh, is this kind of like an anti-American movie? Is it going to be fuck America, right? And you really, when you want, it's not at all. It's basically, it's putting blame everywhere. It's basically saying, at the end of the day, people...
No, it's actually
pretty pro-America in a lot of places.
Yeah, it is in a lot of ways. I mean, they're annoyed with America, but their annoyance with America is almost like wanting to be more they're like, how are they able to move so quickly?
Yeah.
And oh, of course, typical,
Yeah.
And now they don't agree with everything that all the steps that the American government is wanting to take here. And then they express frustrations with being kind of like even having to be in dialogue with them and not being able to handle it themselves and things like that. But it doesn't really come off as anti-American.
No.
Like you said, it's kind of like envious of the position,
The
that
freedom we have about
that
being
America is able to take
in terms of dealing with a situation like this.
Yeah.
They have more military freedom all over Japanese soil than the Japanese do.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no. And again, there's that scene too where like the bombers are going to attack Godzilla and the guy's like, "Go USA." You know, it's like at the end of the day, they're like, "Yeah, you know, I mean, we got to play to everyone's strengths in terms of military might. Hell yeah, they want America involved because shit, you know, no one blows shit up better than America." So they definitely don't want Americans out. It's just kind of showing you. I think it's more or less the frustrations that come when two cultures.
America and Japan are very much allies.
Oh yeah,
like in the modern day.
And this film does illustrate that very well. Again, yeah, I think it's just showing you kind of more like the cultural differences too of just how we kind of react. I mean, I think America naturally wants to be very like, okay, take charge, let's do this, and Japan's like, okay, here's the thing, that's cool, but we're not going to let you cut us out of the loop. We're, you know, HQ will be here with us. Because at the end of the day, this is happening here to us, so we'll welcome your help. But you have to understand that this is happening.
It's their home. Yeah.
Exactly. So, and again, I think America's kind of tendency to go there is not like a conscious thing. It's just kind of the natural inclination. America's very kind of alpha male, or just kind of an alpha mentality. So their first response is like, "Yeah, let's go. We're going to do this." And Japan's like, "Oh, slow down there, sport."
We're playing like the take charge, take action.
Yeah.
Sort of mentality.
Which, when utilized well in a cooperative setting, is very, you know, thing. And I think that's what Japan is more trying to do. Is like, okay, let's work together. You have your strengths that can, you know, really help us out, and we want that. But, you know, we're still here too. And here, like, you see, like, Japan reaching out to all these other countries too, and basically saying, okay, let's work together.
Yeah, I mean, this would be a worldwide
issue.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, because Godzilla's not going to just stop in Japan. Like he made landfall here, but you know that's not going to be where it ends.
Run.
And then the Matrix happens.
I know.
I like how they do this though. The whole looking at the screen, how they do that. I think that's kind of clever, supposed to. Because in the trailer, they just showed their faces looking at it, and they didn't have like the finished effect over it.
It's a little weird, but I like it.
It worked. It's a cool little. It's just a kind of a clever way of doing it. So now the film is going to start ramping up again. I would say the slowest part is done.
It didn't feel as long this
It didn't.
time.
Because we weren't in a movie theater. We're here in a living room on a
I guess.
couch.
Well,
We're
what's
more
strange
relaxed.
is like
Talking
I
about
fell
it.
asleep for a lot of it, and it still felt longer in the theater.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, and,
Yeah.
which is weird.
Well, the thing here, now that we've seen it, we kind of get
Yeah.
how long, so you know what to expect
Right.
when. Whereas in the movie theater, you don't know how long it's going to go for. It's like, okay, is this going to be a 30-minute sequence, a 40-minute sequence? And like here now, she's kind of realizing that, you know, and for her, it's kind of I think this is the first time she's really gotten an unfiltered taste of her, you know, her Japanese culture. So you're kind of she's realizing too, like, because I think she came in very much like, America's going to lead the way. America's going to take charge on this because we're the best.
Yeah.
And
Well,
now
as soon as nukes were brought up, she was anti-nuke.
Yeah, because
Immediately.
Yeah.
Because she mentions her grandmother from like the beginning.
Yeah.
You know, her grandmother was from Japan, obviously, but and I guess kind of led to believe that her grandmother told her, you know, about, because her grandmother was alive when Japan was nuked.
Yeah.
Told her about all that.
I think she's realizing too, like I think all the kids, they're coming from different sides of it. Like saying, okay, we got to do this together. No one side knows better than the other.
Yeah.
We all have our talents, our strengths, our strong suits.
Well, I just
but-
kind of it's like nobody wants a nuke dropped on a populated area
Yeah.
if we don't have to.
I mean, there's a reason why no one's dropped nukes since then. It's one of those things where it was not a great idea, but it's like, you know, it's one thing when it's all in theory. It's like, okay, we'll display this amazing military force, but when you see it happen, and when you realize just how powerful these things are, it's like,
Well, I mean, the reason today, I really think it sucks to think that it's the only reason, but it really is like mutually assured destruction.
yeah,
It's like
you know, if one side could maybe survive it better than the other, that might be the tipping point. But because we're all screwed, essentially, it's like everyone's got them, but nobody wants to use them. So it's kind of like this weird, like,
and it's like, and everybody feels like we gotta have them, so nobody else uses them.
but ultimately nobody
Because-
wins. If everyone does use them, we're all done for. So I know it's this bizarre irony, you know, in the modern age, you know. But yeah, no, I like this, and this, one of the film, they really show that everyone especially in Japan said that this film is a kind of a celebration of the self-defense force. It's showing you what happens when when everybody comes together and just does the job right, and how effective it is if we actually all just do what we're supposed to do. So this is her speaking with the president, I believe. See, his performance here is like, it's a little too like, I'm playing a character. I'm acting. We're having a conversation. It doesn't feel natural.
Yeah.
Like
Doesn't sound like his normal voice.
White people in all these Godzilla films, they never come off as
natural. But that's or just Westerners in general in like Godzilla films. I don't know if it's just they're and again I think that comes to maybe too like the director's obviously Japanese, and I don't believe Ano speaks or understands English, so he probably had an interpreter saying, okay, have them say these lines that I know mean this, and then the actor gives a performance, and to him it's like, well, did he say the things I need him to say? And the interpreter's like, yes, he did. Okay, we'll go with that. Whereas a native speaker of English would hear this take and might be like, okay, you said your lines, but it sounds a little too unnatural. Let's do another take where until you kind of have more of a natural flow. But to a Japanese ear, they just hear this like, okay.
And it's weird to me. Like, I get what he's going for, but because he doesn't show the face of the president, like,
He seems a little Bond villainous, like
Yeah,
Dr.
like
Claw
it's
from
weird.
Inspector Gadget.
like there shouldn't be a reason for you to not show it.
Unless it's more or less the metaphor. Well, unless they just don't want to like put a face on it. Like maybe that's kind of like how they feel America's this huge,
I guess, yeah.
almost like
Faceless.
faceless power. That America is so vast and so powerful that it doesn't necessarily have an individualistic identity.
This is interesting. It was an interesting conversation that they're having.
Oh, no,
It's like, France is petitioning to slow the countdown, buy Japan more time before like nukes hit the United States. And then mentions Russia and China. Russia and China both want nuke. They're saying nuke it, and then he said U.S. is staying silent. They're kind of letting it play out. And
Yeah,
then
they're playing the long game.
telling her, like, he's like, I can tell that you're very much, with the no nuke plan that they've come up with, this freezing option.
Yeah.
And he's like, but he kind of gives her because she has her career to worry about. And he's like, just so you know, like, the politics on this is very much the other way. People think this is too risky, So
Yeah.
if you bet, you're betting big, and if you lose big.
If
All your career and all your aspirations are out the window.
This is gonna be a
And
make or break decision.
He's like, he even kind of said, he's like, I don't want nukes.
Well,
He's like, I don't want a nuke.
well,
but-
that's what I mean. Like, Ano does not paint
but he's
America
like-
as like a mustache twirling villain. Like, let's drop the nuke.
Yeah.
He's
No,
basically
no.
saying like, we don't want to. He's basically saying if you can pull this off, just so
No,
you
he's
know.
just laying out the situation.
Yeah.
Which it was just an interesting conversation that I thought was kind of cool. Like,
And America is going to like lend its support here too, because again, one of the things America has, one of the things that makes America the most formidable country, military, is that we have the most technologically advanced country, and basically what America lends into this, plan is their technology, and you're going to see how everyone's utilizing. Like America is going to be using drones to get closer. It's like this is literally saying, okay, we're going to lend our support because ultimately we don't want to have to go the nuclear route. But again, it's one of those things where depending on how things go. Again, I think that's what you're saying. America was.
I mean, in Japan, it's even they're like, that might be our only option.
Yeah.
But we got to do
everything
we
can
We got to
first.
figure out if there's anything else we can do.
Because they got to be able to live with themselves after the fact. If they are going to allow nukes to be dropped in their country, they have to know without the shadow of a doubt that there was literally nothing else that could be done. Hell, even if it means throwing sharp sticks at Godzilla first, just to make sure he's not allergic to wood. They're gonna try. And that way, at the very least, if it happens, it could be like
I think they should lure him into a volcano with birds.
with bird calls. Has no one ever tried that again? Even in the sequels, that were in that continuity. Can we try the bird thing again? Like that worked.
It'll buy us another 10 years, right?
I mean, Jesus, people, like, you came out of the volcano, okay.
Yeah,
We
got a lot of volcanoes.
Play the seagull mating song, and we're right back in. Problem solved, right? Like, shit. Just keep that jam playing 24/7 on the volcano rim. He'll just be content. He's like, all right, he's down there just
develop some sort
snapping his fingers, tapping his foot.
Develop some sort of like high-tech giant speaker that can survive inside a volcano with him.
Yeah.
Playing the
Godzilla should be
that bird stuff that he loves.
He'll just be the eternal raver. He's just down there, just glow sticks and everything, just going. And it's when the music stops that it's like, oh shit.
Oh, God.
I mean, this Godzilla is like raving out in this movie. Clearly, he likes music.
Yes, he's a fan.
So I love that they're using their transportation system to fight Godzilla. Because realistically, this is how they would do it. Because they have the most advanced and most.
They'd run trains into his legs. Hopefully Godzilla is standing on the tracks.
They go between his legs and between his tail, like, oh shit. Well,
crap. All right, well, we got nuke him. We tried everything.
And this is what the this is what the Americans bring to the table, like,
Bing.
Boom.
We're gonna use drones so nobody dies up there.
Yeah. Again, that's when the Japanese really loved this movie, because they basically saw the efficiency of their society being utilized as a weapon.
Just think of how scary that is, because he just turns around the wrong way and your fucking laser light showed out of there.
Well, I think it's because they're so high up that they're below the laser.
Targeting the drones.
They're
not drones. They don't need to worry.
Just seeing this in a Godzilla is... I mean, look at this.
I know.
This is nuts.
Woo.
But see, like, that's pretty close to those guys on that rooftop.
Well, yeah, this mission is not without its fair share of
just
danger.
like-
There's a certain amount of risk involved. Got to live a little.
Ain't you ever been to a rave before?
Yeah.
So there's a few people who OD.
What if they
Yeah.
gave him the little finger lasers, like... I guess they'd be up, though, so they wouldn't matter.
Yeah, just...
He actually shoots himself in the eye.
Those are just intimidation lasers.
Intimidation lasers. And our turn.
Yeah.
And I love this bit. It comes out of the tail now.
I know.
The mouth at the end of the tail.
Is it a mouth?
Yeah.
It's like a weird, fucked up mouth.
Honestly, that's the most destructive one, because he could just aim that thing anywhere. Look at that. Oh, God. It is such a gnarly sight to see this Godzilla in action.
Yeah.
Double the intensity.
That's it. I wish there was just more.
More of this continuity?
Well, like... No, like, more of this in this movie. And I wish we got to see him fight
something else.
Yeah.
Well,
because it would been so interesting to see how he did that.
Well, I kind of feel...
Especially since I forgot he could shoot out of the tail. Like, there's so many... Like, he could just shove that thing down somebody's throat and fire it off.
Just blow it out there.
Yeah, I know. Like, oh my God. Quentin Tarantino needs to direct a sequel in this continuity.
Oh my God.
That'd be insane.
Just F-bombs everywhere and Godzilla just murdering people in every scene.
Yes.
That's rough.
Well, I love how they're basically purposely, like, blowing up the buildings to, like, destroy them. Like, they're usually using the city and the city's infrastructure as a weapon against them. Which is, realistically, probably how you'd have to do it. Because when tanks and planes don't really work against them, you can't just shoot them dead.
They should have buried a big old hole. I mean, dug out a big old hole.
Buried a big hole.
God, I can't talk.
Dig a hole so we can bury another hole.
No.
They could have nuked him.
We're getting there. They should have dug the hole, then nuked him in the hole.
I kind of like to think right now, Godzilla's probably thinking, okay, wait a minute, you're trying to kill me. Why? Because I'll destroy your city.
I know.
That's why you don't like me. You're afraid I'm going to destroy your city. Like his face is dragged. He's like,
no, they're afraid he'll destroy the world.
All of glorious.
That whole thing is just like, ow, as he's going down.
Get the cranes in.
Those are some insane looking things, though.
Have you seen the cranes though in Japan? Like, holy
Yes,
shit.
obviously I have.
Yeah,
but-
that's they're wild. It's like holy
I
shit.
know.
No wonder those buildings get built up so quickly.
I
You're like
know.
Jesus.
And then they have the ones that are like on the building.
I know.
As they build it. Cool as fuck.
Time to take your medicine. Godzilla's
Such a
like,
drunk
I don't
crap.
want any.
You getting some?
Look at those teeth though. Like
Yeah.
holy shit.
God, these guys though, that have to get that close to him, then fucking do this shit.
Yeah,
And again, I love that they wear the hazmat
they're gonna be
suits.
dead in like 3 years.
I know.
Well, again, this is something that I like how they brought back that just being near Godzilla,
Yeah.
you're dead. Like even if you like survive the attack, it's like you're gonna just die of radiation exposure.
Yeah.
It's basically like being at ground zero at like a nuclear power plant meltdown. It's like you're okay.
So you didn't like living, did you?
Yeah.
Oh.
It's like, I don't want that shit.
Like, Jesus.
That's awful.
Yep.
Crane Platoon 1. Annihilated.
And again, he's got to live with that too. Like he put him there.
Yeah, good job, dude.
God,
You suck at your job. You should quit.
that fucking tail.
Send all the train bombs? All of them?
All the lines.
Yep.
Bye bye Yamanote line.
I know.
Boom. Get train bombs.
Godzilla's like, what the fuck?
Really? Train bombing me?
Ooh. Ow.
Gojira's falling.
It's like a boss battle.
Yep.
You have to do a special action, but you have to get him in the right position or whatever.
Mhm.
Yep. And then when he's like, they're there. Oh, quick! Now, quick! And use
He's
this
down.
attack.
Attack the face. Except in this case, it's inject.
I would love to see Kratos
Oh my god!
just
I know.
jumping at his head right now.
That'd be amazing.
Hitting him with his
I need
axe.
that. I need that
Just
crossover
standing
in
on top of
my
him,
life.
like smacking him. Goes, "Ugh."
So this is like a big angry cat right here. I love the end fight of this movie is Godzilla just being
Force fed.
by cranes. Like you think of the end of the legendary Godzilla, he's like ripping open another monster's mouth, just breathing his atomic breath. Here,
Gosh, that was awesome.
cranes. But again, I like it. He said this is a very different. But again, it forces.
Like-
Here's a guy with a board, an iPad. Okay, we're administering.
You know, it's just something that Godzilla should do. Just fire his atomic breath into other giant creatures and say, deal with it. Like, what are you going to do about it? You're going to explode. Only I can handle the atomic breath.
Damn straight. That fucking tail. Oh god, it's like a
Thank
cat
you.
when it gets angry. And there goes 2 square blocks right there. Like just gone. Like oh shit. Well, that's another like $800 million in property damage for that one move. His tail is ridiculous. I just think of the older films where they had to control the tail with wires, and now they have CGI.
Yeah.
And what was their first thought? Make the tail bigger.
Twice as big.
It would have always been this big if not so difficult to handle.
I know. Probably like now we can.
Uh-oh. Uh-oh. This is Platoon 2. Yeah, guys, everybody run away.
He's gonna do my favorite roar coming up, the '84 roar. Again, like this whole movie has been like all the different roars from right here.
Crack.
Yep, my favorite roar was his last one. That really bassy roar.
They need to, gotta rig something where he's just constantly being administered more
know.
cooling.
Well, I'm wondering, yeah, in theory, you'd have to, like, every so often, you'd have to just keep dosing him, you know, because eventually he would just probably heat up again. Yeah, they're even saying, too, this is not a, realistically, this won't be a permanent...
Yeah, it's just it's a pause.
Yeah, it's a
You're
long
pausing it.
pause,
Hopefully.
but...
That's what they do. They get a small nuclear weapon, and they shove it down into him, and then they get several aircraft hooked to him, and they carry him out into the ocean, and then they drop him in, and then they detonate the nuclear warhead inside him.
I mean, you could. I was kind of thinking, this would almost be kind of like how you get world peace, because we can never have a war, because if we ever stop, you know, keeping him under control, he'll just wake up and destroy us all. So it's almost like we all have to get along now, because there's like the looming threat of him waking up. So it's almost, in a weird way, it's like we can't afford to really fight each other anymore.
Well, I mean, it's like...
First time you see your smile.
I know. Yeah.
First order of
Well,
business,
it's like
wash the
humanity,
tits.
you know, uniting to fight off an alien invasion.
Yeah, that's what unites us, a greater
Yeah.
threat. You know, it's like, that's how we get along when something else that's way bigger and more powerful than us, that doesn't give a shit about any of us, comes along and says, yeah, fuck, everything that makes you think you're so different, I don't care, you're all the same, I will kill you. I don't care what religion you are, I don't care what your politics are, I don't care who you like to fuck, I'm just going to just kill all of you. And suddenly everyone's like, hey, remember all that shit that we thought was really, like, you know, a deal breaker in terms of getting, like, yeah, I don't really care so much anymore. You want to help me, like, blow up the mothership? Yeah, me too. Let's go.
I'm back!
Redneck in a plane. That's what that movie should have been called. This summer.
Redneck in a plane. That would have been awesome, because, like, there's one, you're expecting one thing when you go to see that movie.
Yeah.
A redneck in a plane. And then you get Will Smith and Independence Day.
Yep.
Man.
Until the very end of the movie.
And,
And,
then,
then
that
it's like,
president's and then that president's speech.
Yep.
You're like, oh man, we will not go quietly into the night.
we will not vanish without a fight. That's an American movie. This movie, there's none of that. There's like, please, help me. Let's work together. Holy shit, I don't know what the fuck I'm doing.
Why am I here?
God damn it.
No.
Cool. Okay, see, build that for real. Build that statue for real.
Yeah. Just make it a building.
Yeah.
That's
Have the head be the penthouse suite.
That's so simple.
The tip of the tail should be like the janitor's closet or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah. Why can you do that? I'm sure Elon's getting right on that.
Yeah, like, if I had his power, his money, I'd be like, so here's what we're going to do today. We're going to build a Godzilla statue. I said, why? Because fuck it. That's why. See, I like how here basically they're kind of even saying, too, like, they're like the future of both their countries' politics. So it's kind of weird. You're basically seeing kind of like the birth of, like, this budding political romance in the sense they're going to really have to start working together and really realizing that no one is really above anyone else because ultimately we are equal in the shadow of Godzilla. Not to get waxed too poetic, but that's one of the things I've always loved about Godzilla is that he is the great equalizer in terms of humanity because we're all the same in his shadow. Everything we think that makes us so different is just rendered null and void. So right now we're all living on a ticking clock and essentially all our efforts need to be focused on keeping him on ice, so to speak, because, you know, he will destroy us all. Seriously, build it.
That's very cool.
Be like constant paranoia though.
Yeah, but that's a great way of keeping everyone in check. It's like
Yeah.
something looming that is much more dangerous than...
But now's not the time to quit. Or to go quietly into the night.
And you can start to see it.
So yeah, you're going to see...
Yeah.
And what a lot of people, the film suggests that scientist who killed himself, what his genetic contribution to Godzilla was, because they think he merged with Godzilla, and you're getting this, like his final
They have
form.
like weird split faces and shit.
Yeah.
They're creepy looking.
Basically, Godzilla was mutating again, becoming Legion, essentially. He could not destroy us, defeat us as a single entity, so he was basically going to become us. a horde. So,
Some scary shit.
yep. But yep, there we go. One of the most influential Godzilla films. And, Toho's bold step forward into kind of modern filmmaking in terms of technology. But anyway, guys, that is going to do it for this one. Thank you so much for listening. And as always, we'll catch you on the next one. Peace!
Goodbye.
Peace.